Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Breakworks. Today, taking a look at Supreme Straits, a game I played pretty recently, and I wanted to show off because some interesting shenanigans happened on here that I just cannot wait to share with you guys. But let's get right into this match. We can see that we have a few lower skill players in the backline here for the red team. The Southwest going to be in the tech position, so we'll get to see what they bring out to the field for us today. But I myself get to relish the opportunity to be the red team leader. Coming in tied for first place with Malade Blade, the yellow player, going to be down south contesting the shore side of the sea. But it looks like I'm on the hot seat today, going to be taking the lead up front with the bot lab, trying to hold the straits of the Supreme variety. Spawning on the northeastern side here, we have Blossomed, the blue team leader here in the backline, going to be the tech heart center of the of the blue team here. And we'll get to see what they're bringing out. Now, Lunar Fire going for a bit of an air lab start very early. Very little energy production here for Lunar Fire. And that's because they've got some interesting ideas in mind. Interesting ideas indeed. For the meantime, winning my own award, get a unit out in the field. Feels good, feels good. Can I give the award to myself? Is that fair? Is it fair to show off games where I win all the awards? Maybe not. Let me know down below how you feel about that. Maybe you guys like to see it. Maybe you guys are tired of seeing that. Either way, though, these ticks getting way into the back lines here. Going to be quite annoying to deal with. There is a rover that was sent across. Doesn't see any of these ticks, though. Although they should. Maybe the ticks didn't pop up on the radar there. Ticks just barely managing to sneak past the radar there. I didn't even know how sneaky I was being with these. But they do manage to snipe a metal extractor off of Renew, and as well as Zenith got a metal extractor down. Mayhem! Ticks, and more ticks all over the place, causing trouble wherever they can go. Always important to get that early game harassment out and about here. Every metal extractor you destroy, every solar collector you disable, every constructor that you snipe is just more metal that the enemy is going to have to spend rebuilding over time. These ticks are an investment of 17 metal. And for just 17 metal a day, you can destroy an opposing player's economy. Alright, this is the one to check. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Lunar Fire going for the... oh, who was it? Who was it that showed us this? I'm forgetting their name. You'll have to go back 2 videos and watch that one. Going for the backline cheese here. Was it Fatal Baguette? Might have been Fatal Baguette. Going for the backline cheese here, we send an air constructor all the way around the map, trying to sneak it into the backline here. Going to be flying right over Chaos Unleashed base. And we'll have to check back in and see if this air constructor makes it all the way through. Spoiler alert. There's probably a good reason why I'm showing off this game, right? Malade Blade taking an early lead in the ocean, as is expected for the player on this side. We do have an air constructor sent out from Blossomed here, but an air constructor on the side of Klob has actually made it here first. And we are going for the anti-air tower first. Very nice. We are going to win this fight. Or this race, I guess I should say. Both of these constructors trying to put up an anti-air tower. But yeah, it looks like we're going to win it here. I hadn't noticed that. It's one of the fun parts about watching my own games, is I get to watch what exactly is going down here. All right, now let's slow it down. If we click on this player, click on player view. All right, look at that. For about, oh, I don't know, a couple seconds there, an air constructor was visible. Oh, his mouse was over here. Yeah, the cursor was over here, but looks like we didn't notice. And indeed, Lunar Fire will get the constructor all the way into the backline here. Klob says, lol. Wait a minute. Are you telling me we noticed this constructor and we didn't say anything? Is that what that lol was? Or was that lol over here? I hope it was over here. That'd be really unfortunate if we saw this constructor in the backline and nobody said anything, or we didn't produce a fighter or anything like that. We do have the air lab out. I would definitely love to see a single fighter being produced here. One to contest the islands of each spot on the map. Somehow we have two anti-air towers over here. However, there's a constructor's trap there. And the front lines are getting more and more tense here. This is a very early lead in the front lines because we did have the lead here with them being pushed off of the high-value metal extractor. It's this one right here. There's this one back there, which they were able to contest, but Mr. Spice doing a great job of pushing forward and getting this forward metal extractor, raining down artillery shells from behind. Very, very good stuff. I hit a huge energy stall here. Had to actually send the Resbot back to my own base in order to reclaim a bunch of these trees, these palm trees and ferns. Meanwhile, on the back line, we're going for air labs here, air labs and constructors, and we are not quite ready to tech up yet. At least the blue player isn't. The green player is mainly just focused on economy, and that's because they want to build up this little building center over here, this little forward operations base, in order to better serve this community here. Serve them death and destruction, that is. Blitz is pouncing on top of tanks here. These brutes are more than happy to get stuck in a fight, get stuck in a proper fight with a couple of blitzes. You can see a lot of these are scuffed up pretty badly. One of them's down to 0% health. Our artillery is taking hits from enemy artillery, but we're dishing them out just as well. That blitz does go down, unfortunately, as well as the metal extractor, which is much more important than that lowly blitz. Our yellow player here, Malade Blade, doing an excellent job of taking over the straits on this side. Very, very good job. We've got the anti-air here to shoot down these these aerial construction ships. That's really nice. We do have coastal torpedo batteries going up, though. These are going to start tearing apart these ships if they don't move on out of there. It's a great way to push back Armada forces. Doesn't work so well against Cortex because they have that missile corvette, which can outrange those coastal torpedo launchers. But if you're playing against an Armada player and they're sieging you there, just build a couple of those coastal torpedo launchers, and they're going to push back any dolphins, any skaters, any any of those pathetic ships there. Example has got nothing so far out on the field. Scratch that, we do have a couple of goons out on the field. The light hovercraft, the fast attack hovercraft. And yeah, that's actually pretty nice here. We're turtling really hard. It's a lot of static defense we built up on the front lines. I would love to see this turned into units here. Units or economy. This is sort of a tech spot as well, because if you give this up and you just don't focus on Navy at all, definitely could be pretty powerful. You do sacrifice the whole naval field though, and that can definitely lead to a tremendous disadvantage. Metal extractors and other units back here were destroyed by goons, and so it looks like Example has been hard at work tearing down the economy of the player in the sea here. So that is really nice to see. Wow, look at that. How many times can I say sea in a single video? Let's get the sea counter up on the screen, please. I'm just kidding. We'll do that later. We'll do that once my budget is bigger. You can hire editors. I was trying something new here. I tried out a gauntlet on the front lines, and for what it's worth, I think I definitely got my value out of it. It stayed on this front line for quite a while, and the area that it covered I felt was sufficient to justify its cost. You can see it can deny this metal extractor over here, which is a high-value metal extractor. It can shoot into these static defenses, and also it can cover this metal extractor. Now the first of the blitz waves is moving out here. You can see I'm trying to get my commander into position, but this is difficult to do. Commander fires D-guns into this crowd, and it thins it out significantly. Down to 10 blitzes from, God, however many that was, 30 maybe. But yeah, I knew that my base was toast. You can see me just running away the Lazarus bot here, and I just was consigned to the defeat because I knew that there was no way I was going to be able to shut down all these blitzes in time. Commander is the only thing I have that's strong enough to do any amount of serious damage to these blitzes, so I just start moving it back. I started up a Centurion here, but I didn't have the metal to fund very many of them. So it's going to get to work as well, but again, very, very slow. And then I D-gun it. Yeah. Unfortunate, but that is the cost of war, after all. Sacrifices must be made, and whatnot. And luckily I'm able to continue holding this front line because of this Gauntlet's presence on the front here. Continuing to be really, really annoying to anything on the front lines. enemy turrets being sieged tremendously. And I was handed some royalties from my teammates for that loss. Now you can see what has developed back here. From a single constructor, we built up to an entire base, and the thugs are marching forward. As is the purview for this cheese, a bunch of thugs move into the back line here, and these units or these players rather, are caught completely off guards because there's well, how on earth are there units coming out from those hills? Theirs is barren hills. Ooh, took out our own battery with that D-gun. That's unfortunate. Ouch. Yeah. Yeah, I was reacting in the chat to that. Someone hasn't been watching my videos. I know you right there, you're watching this and you're thinking, ah, a classic, but apparently, Chaos Unleashed and Klob, not big Brightworks fans. Maybe they'll have to pick up the channel after this. Check out exactly all the latest cheeses and strategies. At the very least, Chaos Unleashed was able to get a single hound out, but it will go down to the thugs here that tear apart the entire economy of this backline. Things are not looking great. Tremendous amount of defensive structures built up here. We have the SAM shooting down. Yep, Scout finally confirms this base up here. But yeah, we have the anti-air to shoot down any bombers, any planes, anything like that. And we have the light laser turrets. The twin guards, actually, which are, I guess, a medium laser turret, in order to deal with anything, like any bots or anything that roam up those hills. Ah, no, this is a very nice evolution. In fact, I think I noted about this in one of my videos, but yeah, sending out a resbot to reclaim all of this, and then you send it back to your own base, make your own production increase because of it. Absolutely huge play. Really, really nice play out of Lunar Fire there. Asking for a T2. Speaking of T2, I think you could probably go up to T2 in this base here. You have all this metal lying around on the ground. You actually could probably properly fund a tech transition up on this hill. I think that's probably where I see this cheese going in the future. You step up to a T2 facility, you get a fiend, or rather you get a Twitcher out, and then you sell the facility and you start producing fiends using the Twitcher there. And I think that's going to be really, really powerful. Not that this cheese isn't already powerful, but those thugs can definitely be upgraded to fiends. And with just a little bit of work, you're going to be in a really nice spot here. Tons of bombers are out on the field as well, and we don't have any sort of anti-air forces. Our anti-air player, or rather our air player, our fighter player, was busy dealing with the shenanigans in their backline, and so these bombers went essentially uncontested here, tearing apart our hot pink player here. Ginseng. Bomber coming. I think we lost this. And things are not looking good. Now luckily there's two chainsaws out, and these chainsaws can dish out a tremendous amount of anti-air firepower here. You can see they fire really rapidly, and they fire a three-pulse pattern, a three-pulse fire pattern here, and that's enough to burst down these bombers really, really quickly. That combined with the fighters that are now chasing down these bombers, we're going to be in a really nice spot. Well, they were thinking about chasing down these fighters anyway. Luckily the air support was flying right over some anti-air defenses, and so these friendly fighters are not going to be shot down. Well, they fire a 4-pulse pattern. I thought it was 3. They fire 4 little bursts there. Luckily, I was handed a T2 constructor here, so my economy actually isn't looking very bad, despite being knocked out of this game by a bunch of bombing runs here. Advanced solar collectors going down not once but twice. Luckily, the economy was still well in ways here, just because of the fact that there was a T2 handed over. And you can see a slight effort at trying to push into this, but yeah, there's tons and tons of those thugs here, and using vehicles to push in here is definitely not going to be the best option. A strategic bomber is out now, a Blizzard, not the one who makes the StarCraft game. This is a strategic bomber, not a drop support for one of their most popular games kind of bomber. Yeah, it looks like we're not going to get much done with these bombers. Maybe it is a Blizzard bomber. Yellow doing a phenomenal job of keeping Pyro 25 out of the sea. Blossomed, a little bit upset about not receiving a T2, and that's fair. You call for a T2 constructor and you pay for it, and eventually it just never arrives at your door. You're going to be a little upset. That is understandable. Lightning turrets galore here to stop these tanks. Basically the only thing I could think of that was strong enough to hold up against the vehicles here, but also do enough damage to shut down any swarming tactics, like maybe, oh, I don't know, 50 blitzes coming out of the back line here. Yeah. Mr. Spice, phenomenal work, by the way, keeping these artillery pushing and making sure that we're constantly threatening here. I should have done better with this gauntlet to make sure that this metal extractor never comes online. But for what it's worth, it's doing a good job of softening up all these units, getting a couple picks here and there wherever it can. So that's really, really nice to see. At this point, I was trying to figure out a way to deal with this problem in the backline, and the only solution I could think of was sending a bunch of grunts over here. We have some hover tank and we have some incisor, but I don't know if any of those can actually get up into these hills over here. There was a couple tanks over there earlier, a couple of the amphibious tanks, but I don't know if they can move the same way. Mr. Spice says WTF, and Lunar Fire says their backline is dead. He's not wrong. Our backline is almost entirely dead, short of a single metal extractor for Chaos Unleashed here, and at the very least we do have the T2 Air Lab, which is quite nice for Claw, but we do not have any build power whatsoever. I'd love to see a lab, a bot lab thrown down so we can maybe get some construction turrets back here. That would be quite nice for sure. Now luckily our C player has won the map down here, and the C player for blue has not pushed out. They definitely have won their C, but they haven't pushed out. They haven't claimed these metal extractors yet, which means that Jin has now a tremendous amount of economy. Ah, Jin, give me a solar panel. That's very kind. Didn't notice that. Thank you in post, Jin. Maybe you watch this video, maybe you don't, but thank you very much for giving me an advanced solar panel. Means the world to me. I've been trying to try out these colloquial fusion reactors. I think on the front lines, they're much more justifiable in the sense that they can scout me all they want, but they're never going to find this this fusion reactor hidden in the back lines. And so it's just going to look like my economy is absolutely horrendous here with just 2 advanced solar panels. And I'll look like much less of a threat, and it might make me less of a target for bombers. And I don't have to build as much anti-air defenses. Maybe I'm on a bit of copium, though. Maybe I'm the red player, and that's more than enough justification to bomb me back into the Stone Age. That is absolutely understandable. More units are rolling out here, but these are just a stream of grunts. I'm not actually entirely sure why we're switching to streaming out grunts instead of massing units and sending them out in waves. That would typically be much, much more effective here. The grunts can only get a few shots off when they're sent one by one, but they can get that surround bonus and do much, much more damage if they are sent in a big pulse, big wave. Asking my naval player here to go to an amphibious complex, please. Always important to remember to step into that amphibious complex. Although, actually, we do have hovercraft here, so that's quite nice. That's sort of the same idea as amphibious. They just float along the water instead of underneath it. Yeah, very nicely done. I'll warn you here, just so you're not caught off guard, but I do rage a little in this game. I rage against the machine. That's a little bit of a spoiler, though, so we'll just leave it at that. Even I am not prone to the rage. Ooh, those artillery do take out the gauntlet on the front lines before retreating back to the safety of their anti-radar fields here. Loads and loads of pings. Looks like we're trying to convince some units to move over here and help out. Yeah, these are mostly just anti-aircraft, but there is a single nuke here. Ah, we produce a gunship, and it gets immediately eviscerated by all these anti-air missiles. Yeah, I think this crocodile could probably do a lot more. Okay, alright, we get it. Calm down. Anyways, as I was saying, I think this crocodile could definitely do a lot more work here if it shot down these construction turrets here. And then we then proceed to work on the bot lab here, the aircraft lab. These aircraft certainly aren't getting any work done as they just get torn apart by these sweepers here. Very nice to include those. Now you can see the Navy over here has actually torn apart the base of our light green player here, Grifonka. And suddenly their production is looking really, really poor as a bunch of destroyer shots fall all the way back into their backline, taking down a huge amount of production here. The commander has also fallen on the front line as well. Fire says, WTF is this team. Finally, I had amassed enough units that I felt comfortable trying to help. I definitely should have jumped in on this a whole lot sooner. These tanks were at war over here for like way longer than they should have been without any sort of unit support. So I definitely felt pretty bad about that. trying to get these pawns into the nooks and crannies of this base, make sure that it all goes down eventually here. But at the very least, this wave was not successful in tearing all of this down. It's a little bit of damage, though. Incremental steps. 1 or 2 construction turrets, a couple of defensive turrets here. Eventually, it's going to look really nice. Switching over to some res bots. That's quite nice. Yeah, pick up this army and send it back. That's a pretty good idea. At this point, I'm up to T2, and so I start sending in sprinters, which was, in case you're wondering how to counter this strategy, yeah, just dedicate some units. Just send units to your backline. Send some bots to the backline, and you're gonna have a great time. This is not an imposing base by any specific standard. It's just enough to get these T1 units out, but basically after it's gotten these T1 units out, there's not a whole lot of reason to stick around. We're tearing down the heavy laser turret. That's interesting. I wonder if we meant to do a reclaim all command, or maybe maybe we're just hoping to salvage this entire base here. That's likely the idea, is we're just going to pull down this entire base just so we can at least save the metal from it. We can see the sprinters moving in here, and they're going to be more than enough to tear down all of these bots. Alongside the grave robbers, which were already dismantling everything, the sprinters are able to mop up the rest of this backline pretty easily. So it just goes to show, you know, don't give up just because there's a cheese in your backline. Just respond to it appropriately, and remember that because this cheese is happening here, Lunar Fire only has a single fusion reactor up by the 20-minute mark. So all hope is not lost here, and by and by, this was not so much a loss here, especially considering this nice push by Blade Blade here, who actually managed to take out a huge portion of production on this green side. T2 Constructor had built a Rattlesnake up here, more than enough to tear down this agitator, which allows the tick stream to continue marching forward. Yeah, these agitators are good, but the Rattlesnakes definitely much better. Persecutors much better as well. Starting up the anti-nuke, always important to remember that. Did we have a nuclear boy in the back line here? It looks like we are not planning on using any nukes. So it was a unimportant addition to the composition here. But man, if I had been nuked, I'd be unhappy about it. I was even thinking about another cloakable fusion reactor. This one works so well, I figured, hell, why not? Let's get another one in there. I know I have absolutely bashed on those in the past. I am here to officially say that I retract that statement. I think they do have their place, and we should respect them. We should respect all people, whether they decide to use cloakable fusion reactors or not. I think they may have something. They may be onto something, and we shouldn't judge them for that, because it might be me. It might be your humble TNT himself that's actually using the cloakable fusion reactors. And so to that effect, I say, feel free to use them in your own game. Feel free to send me all your dirty replays, or replays you thought were dirty, unfit for service, with those cloakable fusion reactors. Times have changed. This is a new meta we've got to adapt to, and we've got to try some new things out here. Look at all these sprinters running past, absolutely devastating the economy back here. Commander goes by, and that wipes out a big portion of the static defenses on the front line here. The tick stream also being just as annoying. Whether those ticks do a lot of damage or not, they always take away shots from the front line. Like any unit that's firing at a tick is essentially wasting an opportunity to fire. Especially things like these rocket launcher hovercraft here, especially these the rocket launcher vehicles, the T2 vehicles. These are such a powerful shot, and to waste it on a tick that it's probably not even going to hit at all. Yeah, it's really, really nice to see. And suddenly things have flip-flopped back and forth here, and this is looking much, much better. A lot of res bots back here. I can't remember what I was doing with these. I was either resurrecting everything back here, or I was reclaiming everything back here. Either way, there's nothing left to reclaim or resurrect back there, so these just get pulled to the front. If we take a look at this, we can see the juiciest metal piles of your life here, 5.5, 10K. No, I know I've shown bigger than that, but definitely an interesting target and one you definitely want to look for if you were considering starting up some kind of a resbot push here. Always remember to include a few resbots with your main composition here. What I should have done is queued 20 ticks and 1 resbot, maybe 20 ticks and 2 resbots, or 10 ticks and 1 resbot. There's some math for you. You can do that one on the fly, can't you, Brightworks? Gosh, I don't know. It's always bad luck to do math on the fly. Really underwhelmed with the amount of push that Ironstorm has been doing here. No, sorry, Ironstrom has been doing here. Yeah, we definitely haven't taken advantage of this massive amount of fortification that's gone up here. Really unfortunate to see all this fortification gone to waste with 0 units thrown into the grinder. How dare you, sir? How dare you? No, I mean, all things considered, I mean, it's a good thing that we're not just wasting units trying to break this defense, but also we're not using those units that we're sparing in any sort of more meaningful way. So it's kind of it's a waste and a save that just kind of ends up as a net 0. But net 0 is a loss for your team, right? You always have to be producing something. Now the sprinters and the ticks, a very dangerous army composition, I might add. The sprinter with a speed of 132, or rather the tick with a speed of 132. The sprinter with a speed of, whoops, there we go, the speed of 111, just barely a little bit slower. Means that the ticks will run ahead, they will bait out all the shots, and then the sprinters can run in from behind and lay down their rapid fire plasma blasts. Sprinters are especially dangerous when you start counting for surround damage, because they can move so fast they can get the surround on enemy units really, really easily. And that's really their superpower. I've only got 2 reclaim bots on the front line, but there's so much metal here. This could easily become a victory if all this metal was reclaimed here, so I think I definitely should have had some more units on the front line. We do see Razorbacks coming out of Rel G here. And these will be important later. These are a mystery tool that'll be useful later. Marauders are out on the field now, which is really scary. Marauders are kind of devastating on Supreme Straits because, of course, they can attack from all sorts of different angles. Lunar Fire says I killed their back line, but I didn't kill the front line. Rune says I destroyed whole Red's base. He is not wrong, although he left the production, and that was a fatal mistake, leaving me with a single production structure I will rebuild. Rebuild from the ashes, I say. And indeed, the entire facility. Also, there were these cloaked fusion reactors, so Renew? It might be Renew. Renew did not notice that there was actually several thousand energy production per second here that I was enjoying the benefits of. I tried to get some welders out because I wasn't exactly sure what to do against these marauders. Welders was not the right decision here. Sniper bots was the right decision. For anybody that's wondering, I should not have gone for the welders. They do not stand enough of a chance. They're not tanky enough. They're definitely not fast enough. Sharpshooters would have been the right decision to absolutely melt down these marauders. That would have been the perfect play. I didn't make it, but you can in your games. You just have to buy my book. It comes in 3 easy installments of $9.99, delivered right to your doorstep. We do not pay for shipping. You're going to have to pay for that on your own. Comes to a grand total of $4,500 plus tax. For the low price. You can have that today. All that and more. Learn the secrets of the trade. You too can be a trinitro glycerin? No, wait, what is TNT? Trinitro something. Anyway. Can't wait. That's annoying. Oh yeah, that's right. There was some pause shenanigans here. You're just seeing kind of the stuttering of it. But yeah, our orange player disconnected. And they were forced to leave the game, unfortunately. There was a lot of back and forth about whether we should pause or we should take. They had disconnected and then they weren't regaining any of their command delay here, so they just decided to quit, or they DC'd, or however it worked. I just ended up with all their units, so you can see my front line is suddenly tremendous. Yeah, I was thinking about a play here. This is interesting. So we had the Southern Sea, but this player was not going for amphibious units. They were going for hovercraft, so I figured, okay, I'll throw in my own. We'll get platypuses up and running, and we'll send those across. And we have a bunch of Marauder moving across the sea here. Tons of Razorback. Keep echoing up, please. Yeah, I accidentally said that in all chat. Then in team chat, I said, don't want to throw this. You can see at some point I was aware of these. Yeah, it was this sonar plane here. Takes a good look around and finds all of these Marauder cruising around underwater here. And we have all these Razorbacks. Now I'll warn you, for all the children in the chat, please cover your eyes. Papa TNT did not manage his temper very well. That one's on me. You can see my entire army moving around here, trying desperately to get into position as I see these Marauders approaching my base. Absolutely terrifying. A lot of pings on these Razorbacks. I was wondering why those weren't in position here. And at this point I was pretty concerned that I was going to be knocked out of the game. See, the commander goes down, and you can see that commander damage drop off in huge play here, as these cloaked fusion reactors don't actually kill my commander. They do, however, kill most of these Marauders, which in the end of the day is actually, I think, what probably saved me from complete annihilation. Give me the Razorbacks, for the love of God. Yeah, the Razorbacks being idle there was really upsetting to see. We built that beautiful T3 units, and then we just weren't able to use them to counter the other ones. I was really upset about that. You can see this tremendous Marauder spam coming out of Blossomed here. Absolutely making the right decisions. Klobbin, I felt so bad about this. I said, what are we doing here, guys? And then RelG said, didn't see, sorry. Klob said, trying our best, dog, and Chaos Unleashed said, dude, I had nothing. Klob and Chaos Unleashed, I absolutely apologize. That was not directed at you at all. You guys are doing the best that you can, and I'm happy to have you in the game, learning as well as you can. RelG, I can understand that you maybe didn't see those Marauders. Just feel free to hand over those T3 units next time you send them up to the front line. I'll be more than happy to take them off your hands and use them excitedly, enthusiastically even. Starting up Resbots as quick as I can. I noticed that actually a lot of this was left undestroyed here. We've still got the T2 lab, we've still got cloakable fusion reactors, and so it's playable. You see just how close it was. 24% on this one, 84%, still really high on that. But the Marauders are coming back this way, so the Razorbacks move around almost immediately. Making sure to position the T3 to counter the T3. Always a good idea. Loads of Platypus over here, not sure why I'm AFKing these, sheesh. Looking like a fool here. APM definitely taxed out to the maxed out. No further push here, which is really unfortunate to see. Got a lot of tachyons here. I think that was what I switched to producing out of this lab that I inherited. Yeah, so we're just making tachyons out of this lab, which is sort of a siege unit. Very popular siege unit, very good siege unit, if I might say so myself. At this point, the Marauders have made land. A lot of them were stopped by this defense, so finally that defense gets some value out. Thank goodness. It had been waiting there so anxiously, and the first unit it sees is a T3 Marauder. Imagine that defense's perspective, right? They're like, okay, we've set up the defense, and the first unit they find is this super tanky beast of a unit, super tall, moves super fast, and they're just like, holy hell, this is the first unit? Imagine how difficult this is going to be. Yeah, at some point the Marauders move past these Platypus, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot I had these. And realized that I should probably use them to some extent. So the Platypus decided to start moving in here. I think what I was probably hoping was that these Platypus moving would force these Marauder to retreat, or, you know, maybe think about retreating. But what actually ended up happening is that they just kept moving. So I was like, okay, well, that gives the Platypus basically free reign to move however they feel like. Sending Razorbacks down here now because I know that there's a bunch of Marauders about to pop up on this beachhead. But Malade Blade doing a phenomenal job of getting a bunch of static defense out. Look at these Marays. That is 10,000 metal in these T2 torpedo launchers. But for what it's worth, these things are absolutely brutal. You can see the range on these is phenomenal. Huge range. It's a seeking torpedo as well, so it's always going to hit as long as there's vision over there. And look at that damage. Marauders are absolutely helpless against these guys. And they just, I mean, they make these Marauders look like they're made out of paper. Absolutely devastating. And the final Marauder goes down. Absolutely excellent stuff there by Blade. Also good stuff by Klob getting those T2 torpedo bombers out to assist with that. Really, really nicely done. Really do love to see that. The Hero Marauder that was resurrected. This is a very hopeful pattern, but I sent it around the map, hopefully to get into the production centers of the blue player here. The Pulsars march forward. There's actually not enough energy production. We're sending all of our energy into an advanced reactor here, but even... Oh, actually, this is where most of the energy is going. Resurrecting. Extremely energy costly. Upwards of 1,000 energy to try and revive this commander here. Anything else is also going to cost a lot of metal. Somehow... Oh, that's right. I took over a player, so I actually ended up with 2 commanders. Funny enough. You can see these Pulsars doing good work, basically melting down all the static defense while the lighter units push forward. Definitely a great option for these, because it's so APM unintensive. You just hit F, and then you right-click and drag, and they'll move, and they'll shoot, and they'll do tremendously. As long as there's a flood of units running past them, they'll be a really, really powerful option. You can see they burst down these Marauders like it's nothing. Really powerful stuff here. Probably my favorite unit to use to counter T3 if you're still in the T2 stage. Blossom actually calling for a resign vote here. Is this where they call it? Seems a little early. But they do pass it indeed. And so the blue team finally caves underneath the pressure here from what seemed like a really, really dominating lead. They had a huge play in the backline that our backline never even truly recovered from. Although I guess we did get up to high tech, so... That is quite nice. We do have advanced fusion reactor here, and we're getting up to reactors here. But certainly they did not manage to hold the front lines at all, and that lack of tech in the late game, once it was held, actually crippled them significantly. Let's take a look at the graphs here. Yeah, you can see that as a frontliner, I basically kept up the production of the green player, who was the one who was cheesing. So you can see, typically this green player should have been much, much higher. They should have been at least up with blue, but probably even higher than that if they were teching traditionally. But because they went for that cheese... you can see they flatlined a lot of the economies down here, but eventually Klob and Chaos Unleashed were able to recover, meaning that the game swung in our favor. Just goes to show, folks, if you think the game is over, keep fighting to the very end. Make sure to help your teammates out. Do whatever you can to get them on your side, and you're going to have an excellent game. Anyways, I hope I see you in the next video, and I hope you enjoyed. I will see you later.